It began with silence and ended with sirens. For 12 days, fire rained from the sky. Missiles flew, cities burned, and fear ruled the hearts of millions. Israel struck first, fast, sharp, and loud. But Iran answered back. This is not just a story of war. It's a story of money lost, secrets exposed, and a future more dangerous than ever before. Who really won? Who truly lost? And what comes next? Join us now as we dive into the 12-day war, Israel versus Iran. Who really lost? Chapter 1. The first strike. It was a quiet night. The world was sleeping, but the skies over Iran were not. At exactly 2:14 a.m., on June 13, 2025, a deep sound broke the silence. Jets, missiles, explosions. Israel had begun its most dangerous mission in years. A surprise attack, fast, loud, and deadly. The targets: Iran's nuclear sites, its missile factories, and its military leaders. This was not a small operation. It was massive. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stood before the cameras earlier that day. He said, "Iran is a danger to the world. We must stop them now." The Israeli army was ready. They used F-35 jets, drones, cyber attacks, and more. They hit deep inside Iran's cities, deserts, and even secret bunkers. But Iran was not sleeping. They were watching, waiting. When the first missile hit, Iran's defense systems came alive. Sirens screamed. People ran to shelters. Military bases locked down. Iran's leaders met in an underground war room. Their decision? Fight back. Hard. Within hours, Iran launched a counterattack. More than 300 missiles filled the sky, aimed at Israeli bases and cities. Some were stopped, but many got through. Israel's famous Iron Dome tried to stop them, but it wasn't enough. In the city of Beersheba, a rocket hit a building. Windows shattered. Fire rose into the night. People screamed. At the same time, Israeli jets were returning to base. Some were damaged. Others had dropped their bombs and left chaos behind. But not all targets were destroyed. Iran's nuclear program, still standing. Its missile force, still strong. That first night showed something shocking. This war would not be easy. It would not be quick. In just one night, thousands were running, dozens were dead, millions were afraid. The media called it the 12-day war. But no one knew how long it would really last or how deep the damage would go. And one question filled the minds of millions. Why now? Why this war? Some say it was about Iran's nuclear power. Some say it was politics. Others say it was fear. But whatever the reason, one thing was clear. The Middle East had changed overnight. And this was just the beginning. War is not just fire and bombs. War is money. A lot of money. In the first week of the war, Israel spent $5 billion. Yes, $5 billion. Gone. Every day, the army burned through $725 million. That's the price of tanks, planes, missiles, and soldiers. Every hour, every minute, costs more. A military expert in Israel said, just 2 days cost us $1.5 billion. And that's only the military side. She was right. Let's break it down. Imagine a jet in the sky. An F-35 fighter jet. To fly it for 1 hour, it costs $10,000. Now imagine 30 jets flying all day. That's millions. Then comes the fuel, the weapons, the bombs. Each missile costs thousands, even millions. But the biggest expense? Defense. To stop Iran's missiles, Israel used its Iron Dome and other systems. One night, just one, cost up to $200 million in missiles. Why? Because a small Iranian missile, maybe $20,000, was shot down by a missile worth $700,000, or even $4 million. Yes, 4 million, for one shot, and there were hundreds of missiles. Iran launched more than 400 in total. Some hit their targets, some were stopped, but all cost money. The worst, the Arrow 3 missile system. One missile costs $4 million, and Israel fired many. Experts said, the defense system is running out. We can't refill it quickly. That's dangerous. Because without defense, cities are open, people are at risk. And it wasn't just the military. Ben Gurion Airport closed for 10 days. That's Israel's main airport. No flights, no tourists, no business. Each day of closure, millions lost. Then came the strikes on buildings, homes, shops, offices, in Beersheba, Tel Aviv, and even near Jerusalem. Rockets damaged hundreds of buildings. Some fell to the ground. One engineer said, "This is the worst damage I've seen in 30 years. Rebuilding it will cost hundreds of millions more." And what about the people? 36,000 families were displaced. No home, no work. And the government must pay. Insurance companies, overwhelmed. The government, stressed. Israel's defense budget exploded. It jumped 65% in 1 year. And now, other areas, like schools, hospitals, and public transport, will face cuts. The finance ministry said, we need to move $857 million more to defense. The country is bleeding cash. One economist warned, if this war lasts longer, we could lose 20% of our economy. A disaster. So, yes, war is not just about winning or losing. It's about surviving. And Israel was starting to feel the pressure. The next chapter, the Iron Dome struggles. Because even the best defense has its limits. Chapter 3, the Iron Dome struggles. They called it unbreakable. A wall in the sky. A shield of fire. Yes, we're talking about Israel's Iron Dome. But during this war, even the Iron Dome began to break. On the third day of the war, Iran fired dozens of missiles, not from one place, from different directions. At the same time, some were fast, some were slow, some were smart, some were cheap, but they all had one goal: break through the shield. And slowly, it started to happen. The Iron Dome tried to keep up. It launched interceptors again and again, boom, boom, boom. But each interceptor costs money, and each launch burns time. One Israeli soldier said, sometimes we had to choose. We couldn't stop all the missiles. We had to protect the most important ones. That was shocking. It meant some cities were left open. Some buildings got hit. The David's sling system, a second layer of defense, also struggled. It could stop bigger missiles, but it was expensive. $700,000 per shot. And the worst, Arrow 3. This was Israel's last line of defense. Strong, but very, very costly. Each missile, $4 million. And they used dozens of them. Even when they stopped a missile, it didn't always feel like victory. Why? Because Iran's missiles were cheaper. Much cheaper. A $20,000 missile stopped by a $4 million defense. Who wins in that situation? Iran smiled. Israel spent. And worse, Israel's missile supply was going down fast. Factories could not keep up. The army had to think twice before launching. One night, a missile hit a building in Ashdod. People asked, where was the Iron Dome? The answer was simple. It was tired. Too many rockets. Too little time. And Iran was learning, watching, testing Israel's system, finding the weak spots. And sometimes, they got through. It was no longer a game of tech. It became a game of numbers. A game of pressure. A game of survival. In the end, even the strongest wall can fall if you hit it long enough. And Israel's wall? It was cracking. The next chapter, the economic burn. Because when the shield breaks, the real pain begins. Chapter 4. The economic burn. War destroys more than cities. It burns money, hopes, and daily life. For Israel, this war became a financial nightmare. It didn't start with bombs. It started with closures. The biggest airport in Israel, Ben Gurion, was shut down. Not for one day, not 2, but 10 full days. No flights in, no flights out. Tourists stuck. Business frozen. Every single day cost millions. Shops closed. Factories stopped. Deliveries were delayed. Markets dropped. And fear was everywhere. People were not buying, not working, not moving. Small businesses cried for help. Restaurants, shops, taxi drivers, all lost income. One cafe owner in Tel Aviv said, "Customers disappeared overnight. I still pay rent, but no one is coming." Then came the damage. Iran's rockets hit hard. More than 400 missiles. Some hit homes. Others hit roads, schools, even power stations. And one of the worst hits. Weizmann Institute, a major science center, gone. Another major target, Bazan oil refinery, explosion, fire, shut down. $3 million lost every day. 10 days of shutdown. $30 million. And there was more. Government buildings, bridges, water lines, all damaged, all costly. An Israeli engineer said, "Hundreds of buildings are too dangerous to enter. We must rebuild from zero." And rebuilding means money, a lot of it. Then there's the people. More than 36,000 Israeli settlers were forced to leave their homes. Some had no place to go. The government had to pay for housing, food, and security. Hundreds of businesses were destroyed or shut down. And who pays the price? The answer? Everyone. The Israeli government made hard choices. They cut $200 million from schools, hospitals, and transport, and sent the money to the military. That wasn't enough. They also planned to transfer $857 million more to defense. One man from the finance ministry said, "This war is eating our budget like fire." Even strong voices in Israel began to worry. Economist Yaakov Sheinin warned, "If this war continues, we could lose 20% of our economy." That's not just a number. That's jobs. That's families. That's the future. Yes, the Iron Dome was protecting the sky. But the economy? It was burning on the ground. And wars don't end when the bombs stop. They end when the bills are paid. And that could take years. In the next chapter, we ask, did Israel reach its targets? Or were they all missed? Because now, it's not about the money, it's about the mission. Chapter 5. The missed targets. Israel didn't start this war by accident. It had a plan, a big one. 5 clear goals. Number 1. Destroy Iran's nuclear program. Number 2. Wipe out Iran's ballistic missiles. Number 3. Crush Iran's military bases and power. Number 4. Kill top generals and intelligence officers. Number 5. Break the Iranian government. That was the mission. Strong, clear, dangerous. But now, let's see what happened. First, the nuclear program. Did Israel destroy it? Not really. Reports say Israel and the US only delayed it for a few months. Less than 6. Yes, they bombed 2 big sites. But the structures didn't collapse. And the uranium? Iran had already moved most of it to secret underground labs. The New York Times confirmed this. Even US intelligence said, the program is damaged, not dead. Now, goal 2. Iran's missiles. Did Israel stop them? The answer is a loud number. On the final day of war, Iran launched a massive attack. Hundreds of missiles in one night. One city, Beersheva, was hit badly. Fires, screams, destruction. Experts say, you can't destroy a whole missile program with air strikes. Why? Because you'd need to bomb all factories, all storage sites, all labs, all tunnels, and kill all the scientists. It would take months, maybe years, and a full ground invasion. That didn't happen. Now, Goal 3, destroy Iran's military power. Impossible. Iran's army is big, smart, ready. They lost some bases, some weapons, some officers, but they fought back, hard, and fast. They even launched cyber attacks, hit Israeli systems, took down websites, leaked files, and they're still standing. Goal 4, kill top leaders. This one, yes, partially successful. In the first strike, Israel used secret drones. They hit deep inside Iran. Some top commanders were killed. That was a real blow to Iran. But Iran responded fast. Their intelligence arrested dozens of spies, shut down Israeli networks. In a way, the attack only made Iran more alert. Last goal, change the regime. Big dream, big failure. Instead of falling, Iran's government got stronger. The people rallied. They shouted, "No to Zionists." Even critics of the regime stood with it. One expert said, Israel gave Iran a gift, unity. So, 5 goals. Only one may be achieved, and even that came with a cost. This wasn't a clean win. It was a messy game, and the world was watching. Next chapter. Iran fights back. Because the story was far from over. Chapter 6. Iran fights back. They thought Iran would break, that it would fall, that it would stay silent. But Iran fought back, and the world saw it. On the second night of war, missiles began to fly. Hundreds roaring through the dark, aimed straight at Israel. Not just one area. Cities, military bases, even airports. Sirens screamed. People ran. Shelters filled. Israel was under attack, and not just from Iran. Groups in Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq joined the fight. They sent more rockets, more drones, more fear. This was no longer just Israel versus Iran. It became something bigger. The Israeli army was shocked. So many directions, so many threats. And then came the surprise. Cyber attacks. Iranian hackers targeted Israeli banks, TV channels, government websites, hospitals. One by one, systems went down. People saw black screens. News stopped. Alerts failed. Even defense computers were hit. The digital war had begun. Then came the drones. Small, silent, deadly. They flew over fences. They hit fuel tanks. They hit radar towers. They even filmed Israeli bases. Live. One general said, "It's like they're watching us from the sky." And it wasn't just machines. Iran sent a message to its people. We are strong. We will not be broken. Crowds filled the streets of Tehran. Old, young, men, women. They carried flags. They shouted, "Death to Israel." Even people who didn't like the government stood with it. That's what war can do. It unites a nation. In the south of Israel, Iranian missiles hit power lines. Cities went dark. Hospitals used backup energy. Phones stopped working. Panic spread. And still, Iran kept going. They showed a new weapon. Smart rockets that changed direction mid-air. They tricked Israel's defense systems. The Iron Dome couldn't catch all of them. Israel's military said, "We've never seen this before." And inside Iran, something else happened. They started arresting spies, people linked to Israel, people who shared secrets. Dozens were caught. Their names were on TV. Iran's intelligence had woken up. And perhaps the biggest move, Iran found where Israel's drones were being built. Hidden workshops, secret sites. They attacked them, destroyed them. A huge loss for Israel. In just a few days, Iran turned from victim to fighter. The world began to ask, who's really winning this war? Next chapter. Inside the chaos. Because while the missiles flew, something else was breaking: Israel itself. Chapter 7. Inside the chaos. The war was outside, but the real storm, it was inside Israel. Fear filled the air, not just from missiles, but from confusion, anger, and division. Shops were closed. Schools were empty. Roads were blocked. People asked, when will this end? Why did it begin? Inside the government, pressure. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stood firm on camera. He said, "This war is necessary. We are winning." But inside his own team, not everyone agreed. Some ministers whispered, "We weren't ready. This is not going as planned." Military commanders had their doubts, too. They told journalists, "We hit Iran, but they hit back harder than we thought." And the people, they were tired. Tired of running to shelters. Tired of power cuts. Tired of silence. In Tel Aviv, protests began. Thousands holding signs. "Stop the war." Where is the strategy? Police watched. Some pushed the crowds, but the voices kept growing. Israel's economy was breaking. So was public trust. A mother said, "My son is in the army. I don't know if he's safe. I don't know why he's fighting." A business owner said, "I lost everything in 5 days." And in the middle of it all, a broken rhythm Israel used to feel strong, organized, smart. But now, everything felt unstable. The military budget exploded. Other ministries lost funding. Hospitals ran low on supplies. Teachers didn't get paid. Even digital systems failed. Bank apps went down. News channels got hacked. People felt lost. And then came international pressure. The United Nations, Europe, and even some US voices said, "Stop. This war must end." But stopping was not easy. Because pride was in the way, and fear, and politics. Netanyahu faced pressure from all sides. From the army, from the people, from the world. Inside Israel, it wasn't just war with Iran. It was a war with itself. And in that silence, a big question grew louder. Is this war worth it? Next chapter. 1. Win many losses. Because even in war, a single success can hide 1,000 wounds. Chapter 8. 1. Win many losses. The war lasted 12 days. 12 days of fire, fear, and destruction. Israel began with strength. It had a plan. A fast, sharp, deadly strike. And on the first night, it worked. Israeli drones flew silently into Iran. Advanced, precise, invisible. At exactly 2:14 a.m., explosions lit the sky over Tehran, Natanz, Isfahan. Target: Iran's nuclear scientists. Target: secret bases. Target: high-level commanders. And yes, Israel succeeded. Iran admitted the deaths. Major generals were buried. Photos of destroyed buildings were shown on state TV. The world was shocked. For a moment, just one moment, Israel looked powerful, fast, clean, effective. That was the one clear win. But what came after? That's where the picture breaks. Because after that first strike, the losses began. Let's count them, one by one. Loss 1. The nuclear program was not destroyed. Israel wanted to wipe out Iran's nuclear capabilities. But the truth, they only delayed them. The US Department of Defense said the program was slowed by a few months. 6 at most. Iran had already moved most of its enriched uranium. It was stored in hidden bunkers, secret underground sites. Even after the bombings, Iran's nuclear team remained active. They still had the tools. They still had the knowledge. They still had the goal. Loss 2. Iran's missile program survived. Israel's second goal was to destroy Iran's ballistic missiles. But that did not happen. On day 10, Iran launched over 300 missiles in a single night. Some hit military bases. Others landed near civilian areas. In Beersheba, flames covered an entire street. Experts said, to destroy a missile program, you must destroy factories, scientists, supply chains, and storage bunkers. That takes months, not days. Israel didn't have that kind of time, or strength. Loss 3. The economy burned. Each day of war cost Israel between $700 million to $1 billion. In 12 days, more than $12 billion was gone. Ben Gurion Airport shut down for 10 days. Tourism collapsed. Imports delayed. Tech companies lost millions. Shops and markets closed. And the people, over 36,000 families were displaced. Businesses destroyed. Jobs lost. The Ministry of Finance had to move nearly $1 billion from public services or from schools, hospitals, transported to cover military spending. Even Israel's credit rating was in danger. Loss 4. Israel's secrets were exposed. In this war, Israel used its most advanced tech of drones, cyber attacks, electronic warfare. But in doing so, they revealed their hand. Iran discovered the locations of drone factories. They attacked them. They exposed Israeli methods. What was once secret was now known. That's a long-term loss. Loss 5. Public trust collapsed. Inside Israel, people began to protest. In Tel Aviv, in Haifa, in Jerusalem, they held signs. Where is the plan? Who pays for this war? Many saw the war as political, a distraction, a game. Even military leaders began asking questions. And the people? They were scared. One mother said, "My child wakes up crying every night. He asks if the missiles will come again." Fear became the new normal. Loss 6. Iran became stronger. Instead of falling apart, Iran became more united. Even critics of the regime joined together. They marched. They gave blood. They shouted, "Death to Israel." The war gave the Iranian government something it hadn't had in years: public support. It turned the state into a symbol of resistance. And that is a powerful gift. So, yes, Israel had one win. The first strike. A powerful attack. A shock to the system. But what followed? Losses on all fronts. Military, economic, strategic, emotional, and most of all, Israel showed its limits. One analyst said, "It's like starting a race with a sprint, then falling before the finish line." Now the region waits, quiet, watching, worried, because even after all the bombs, after all the deaths, the biggest question is still ahead. What happens next? Chapter 9. A dangerous future. The war ended. But the fear, it didn't. On June 24th, at dawn, the ceasefire began. Missiles stopped flying, jets stopped screaming, and the world took a breath. But it was not a breath of peace. It was a breath of uncertainty. 12 days had changed everything. Both sides claimed victory. But neither side smiled. Israel said, "We weakened Iran." Iran said, "We stood strong." But behind the words lay cities in ruin, families broken, budgets bleeding, and hearts still shaking. Now people ask, what comes next? Let's look closely. Iran's future. Iran suffered military losses, economic shocks, political stress. But the result? Iran is still standing. Its nuclear program, still alive, still active. Its missile system, still firing. And its people, more united. In fact, Iran may be closer than ever to building a nuclear weapon. That's not just a guess. A secret US report said, if Iran wants, it could build a basic nuclear bomb within months. And now, after this war, it might have the motivation. After being attacked, Iran may feel it needs a final shield. A nuclear one. That is dangerous, because if Iran crosses that line, the region changes forever. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, they might want nuclear weapons, too. The Middle East could turn into a nuclear zone. And that fear was created by this war. Israel's future. And Israel, it may have won a battle, but it lost balance. The Iron Dome is weak. The economy is shaken. Public trust is broken. People now ask harder questions. Can we really win the next war? Are our enemies stronger than we thought? Is our leadership acting with strategy or emotion? Prime Minister Netanyahu survived this war, but many believe it was a political move, a distraction from internal problems, and, if there's no real gain, his position could become weaker. Meanwhile, Israel's enemies are watching. Hezbollah, Hamas, even North Korea. They all took notes. They saw Israel's limits. And that changes the future of global security. The region's future. Across the Middle East, this war opened old wounds. It reminded people of past wars. It reminded leaders of past mistakes. And it reminded nations that peace is fragile. For now, there is no full war, but there is also no peace. Iran may act again, Israel may strike again, or worse, another country may get involved. America, Russia, China, all have interests, all have red lines. And if one line is crossed, a bigger war could begin, not just in the Middle East, but in the world. The people's future. Let's not forget the people. Children in Iran ran to shelters, slept in fear, asked their parents, "Are we going to die?" Children in Israel did the same. They saw fire in the sky. They heard the explosions. They lost homes. Some lost loved ones. No child wins in war. And those memories, they last forever. That's the real cost. Not just money, not just power, but human hearts burned by fear. So here we are. The war is over, but peace has not begun. And maybe, that's the real message of the 12-day war. That power is not victory. That fear cannot bring peace. And that sometimes, a quick win brings a long risk. The Middle East is now more dangerous. The future is more fragile. And the world is watching closely. And so, we leave you with one final question. Was this war the start of something greater, or the end of something broken? Only time will tell.